On the lonely, windswept shores of northern Japan, a silent armada is making landfall. They don't arrive with the roar of engines or the call of sailors, but with the quiet, scraping whisper of wood against stone. These are the yūrei-sen, the ghost ships. For decades, they have appeared like phantoms from the mist, a fleet of the lost washing up on a coast that never expected them. They are rustic, wooden vessels, skeletal and stark against the modern landscape of Japan. Each one that emerges from the turbulent gray of the Sea of Japan is a floating coffin, a locked room mystery tossed by the waves. Some arrive empty, scoured clean by the wind and the salt, their crews vanished as if they were never there at all. Others, however, carry a far more gruesome cargo. Inside their waterlogged hulls, Japanese authorities have found the haunting remnants of a final, desperate voyage. What dark tragedy is unfolding in the waters between nations? Who were the sailors who piloted these primitive boats into oblivion? The answers lie scattered across 1,000 miles of churning ocean, whispered in the corridors of a secretive state, and etched into the very grain of these haunted wooden vessels. The phenomenon is not new, but its frequency has become a chilling drumbeat along Japan's western coast. In some years, over 150 of these spectral vessels have made their final, unceremonious landing. Picture the scene. A local fisherman in a small coastal town starting his day as the winter sun struggles to pierce the gloom. He sees it first as a dark anomaly on the horizon, a smudge of black against the steely gray water. As it drifts closer, its form becomes clear. A small wooden fishing boat low in the water, eerily silent. There are no lights, no engine noise, no figures on the deck waving for help. There is only the rhythmic groan of stressed timber and the slap of the waves against its hull. The call is made, and soon the beach is no longer deserted. It's a surreal and somber ballet of procedure, because sometimes the sea has not taken everyone. In 2017, a boat washed ashore in Akita Prefecture. On board, investigators found the bodies of 8 individuals, some reduced to skeletons. The scene was a tableau of finality, a frozen moment of a tragedy that had ended long before it was ever discovered. But amidst the decay, clues to their origin began to emerge. The first piece of the puzzle was often linguistic and cultural. A discarded packet of cigarettes, a box of instant noodles. The packaging bore the unmistakable script of the Korean language. More concretely, many boats had painted markings, a number, a symbol, and often characters spelling out Korean People's Army or the name of a state-run fishing cooperative. Tattered red flags, sometimes found tangled in the rigging, were another damning piece of evidence. The star, the iconic symbol of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, pointed to a single, inescapable conclusion. These were not just any fishermen. These were the lost sailors of the world's most isolated and secretive nation. The ghost ships were coming from North Korea. To understand why these boats are washing ashore, we must first look inside the Hermit Kingdom itself. For North Korea, the sea is not a place of leisure. It is a battlefield. Under the leadership of Kim Jong-un, the nation declared a new kind of war, a war on fish. Fishing became a critical front in the struggle for economic survival and national self-reliance, a pillar of the state's yūrei ideology. State propaganda glorified fishermen as patriotic soldiers, their nets, their weapons, their daily catch of victory against foreign sanctions and food shortages. The government demanded massive increases in hauls, pushing fishermen to their absolute limits and beyond. But ideology cannot conjure fish from an empty sea. Decades of unsustainable state-run fishing had depleted the coastal waters, forcing the fleets to venture further and further out. And this is where the second part of the tragedy begins, with the boats themselves. The vessels washing ashore in Japan are not modern fishing trawlers. They are often little more than wooden skiffs 20 to 40 feet long, powered by small, unreliable, and frequently repurposed engines. Think of an old tractor engine or a small generator motor crudely bolted to a wooden frame. That is often their sole source of power. They lack GPS, they lack modern radio equipment, they lack radar, and most critically, they lack the fuel for a round trip into the deep ocean. The fishermen are given just enough fuel to reach the distant, richer fishing grounds with the expectation that they will catch enough to sell to Chinese vessels on the high seas to afford the fuel to return. It is a one-way ticket to a gamble, a desperate bet against the fury of the sea. Now enter the third player in this deadly equation, the ocean itself. The Sea of Japan is not a tranquil pond. It is a notoriously volatile and treacherous body of water, especially in winter. Fierce winds can whip up colossal waves with little warning, and sudden dense fogs can swallow a small boat in minutes. A simple engine failure, a common occurrence in these decrepit boats, is not an inconvenience. It is a death sentence. Once adrift, the crew is utterly at the mercy of the Tsushima Current. This powerful current acts like a vast, slow-moving river within the ocean. It flows northward along the coast of the Korean peninsula and then sweeps east, directly across the sea towards the western shores of Japan. For a boat without power, this current is an inexorable conveyor belt. The journey from the North Korean coast to the shores of Japan can take weeks, sometimes months. In that time, the unimaginable unfolds. Food runs out. Fresh water disappears. The cold is relentless. Hope, the most vital provision of all, begins to evaporate under the vast, indifferent sky. The crew can see other ships, modern trawlers on the horizon, but they have no way to signal them. They are invisible ghosts long before they are dead. The final days or weeks are a slow, silent descent into starvation, dehydration, and hypothermia. The boat, once a tool of livelihood, becomes their tomb, and the current, patient and persistent, continues its work, gently delivering its tragic cargo to the shores of a foreign land. The arrival of a ghost ship on a Japanese beach is only the beginning of another, quieter story. It is a story of logistical nightmares, geopolitical silence, and the heavy burden of dealing with another nation's dead. For the small coastal municipalities of Japan, each boat is a sudden, unwanted, and expensive problem. The vessels must be carefully inspected, documented, and then disposed of, a process that can cost thousands of dollars per boat. Who pays the bill? The local taxpayers. It is a tangible cost, a physical invoice for a distant, shadowy tragedy. Then there is the question of the remains. When bodies are discovered, Japanese authorities are faced with a profound humanitarian and diplomatic challenge. They must be treated with dignity, but their identities are almost always unknown. They are faceless victims of a system that refuses to acknowledge their loss. Japan has repeatedly tried to engage with North Korea on the issue, seeking information and a way to repatriate the remains. The response from Pyongyang is almost always the same: absolute, deafening silence. To admit that its fishermen are dying in droves would be to admit a catastrophic failure of the Juche ideal. It would be an admission that the war on fish is a failure and that the state cannot protect its own people. So the dead remain nameless. In quiet, often unmarked graves in Japanese coastal towns, they are laid to rest by the very people on whose shores they tragically landed. A quiet act of humanity in the face of a loud political vacuum. And as the years go on, the tide continues to bring its grim harvest. The silent armada of the lost has not stopped sailing. The ghost ships of Japan are more than just a maritime mystery. They are a stark, physical manifestation of desperation. Each splintered plank of wood, each piece of rusted metal tells a story of a human being pushed to the breaking point. They are a haunting reminder that in our interconnected world, the consequences of one nation's policies can wash up, quite literally, on another's shore.